When I think back to my childhood in India, it feels like stepping into a different time altogether. Life was simpler then, and everything seemed to move at a slower, more deliberate pace. Our village was small, and everyone knew each other by name. Families were tightly knit, and the whole community felt like one big family. We lived in a modest house with a courtyard, and that courtyard was the heart of our home. My siblings and I spent countless hours there, playing games, chasing each other around, and listening to the stories our grandparents would share as the day came to an end. Mornings in our house always started with the rooster crowing, waking us up to the start of a new day. My mother would be up before anyone else, the soft clinking of her bangles a familiar sound as she moved around the kitchen. She'd be making tea on the wood-fired stove, and soon the smell of fresh flatbreads cooking in the pan would fill the air. We'd gather around, still sleepy-eyed, eagerly waiting for breakfast. Our school was just a short walk away, and every day was an adventure. We'd wind our way through narrow lanes, passing by houses painted in all sorts of vibrant colors. The streets were always buzzing with life, vendors selling fruits and vegetables, children running around barefoot, and elders sitting on woven cots, chatting and watching the world go by. My friends and I would race each other to school, laughing and teasing each other as we went. The school itself was as simple as it gets, a building with a thatched roof and mud walls. We didn't have desks or chairs. Instead, we sat cross-legged on the floor, hanging on to every word our teacher said as he read from old, worn-out textbooks. There were no computers, no modern equipment, but we didn't mind. We were eager to learn, and that was all that mattered. Sometimes, our lessons took place under a giant banyan tree in the schoolyard, its thick branches spreading out like a canopy over us. After school, there was no time to rest. We'd head straight to the fields to help our parents. Whether it was tending to the crops or feeding the animals, there was always work to be done. It wasn't easy, but those were the moments that brought us closer as a family. My father would teach us how to plow the fields, and my mother would show us how to milk the cows. By evening, we'd gather around a small fire outside, sharing stories and songs while the stars twinkled in the sky above us. One of my fondest memories is of how we used to sleep outside on those warm summer nights. We'd lay out our charpoys, those woven cots, in the courtyard or on the terrace, and the whole family would sleep under the open sky. The cool breeze, the sound of crickets chirping, and the vast expanse of stars overhead made those nights magical. There were no worries about safety or privacy. It was just us and the night sky. Life back then wasn't about rushing from one place to another. Most of the vehicles on the road were bicycles, with the occasional scooter or rickshaw. Cars were rare, and buses were the main way to travel long distances. I remember how excited we would get whenever a bus or a jeep passed by. It was a big deal. Television was a luxury, and the few families who had one were the envy of the neighborhood. Those were the days of the TV antenna, and getting a clear picture was often a matter of climbing onto the roof and adjusting it just right. But once everything was set, the whole family would gather around the TV, and sometimes even neighbors would join in. The shows we watched were nothing like today's. They were simpler, but they were the highlight of our week. Shaktimaan was one of the favorites, with everyone glued to the screen as he fought off villains. And then there were the epic tales like Mahabharat and Ramayana, which would bring the entire village together in front of the TV. Festivals were the most awaited times of the year. Diwali, with its flickering oil lamps lighting up every home, Holi, with its vibrant colors, and Pongal, with the sweet aroma of rice boiling in milk and jaggery. These were not just events. They were experiences that brought the whole community together. We'd dance, sing, and feast until late into the night, the air filled with laughter and joy. Looking back, I realized that life wasn't easy, but it was full of warmth, love, and a deep sense of connection. We didn't have much in the way of material things, but what we had was more than enough. Those were the days when the simple joys of life were all that mattered. That was my childhood, rich in tradition, steeped in culture, and filled with memories that continue to inspire and comfort me every day.